Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So today, as I had promised, we'll be working on the wreath bird prompt that we're doing for Roxy Creations, but we've had a slight emergency and our years of needlework is finally coming to be used for good. One of the people staying with us at the pinball competition has had a pair of shorts that need a little help, so we needed to find a button. I didn't have much in the way of black or khaki, but I have this gorgeous coconut button, so that's what he got. Could have been a lot worse. He could have got some floral butterflies or something pretty on there, so I think I was quite tame. And then he mentioned that his pockets had a hole in it, so I thought, oh, here's my opportunity to have a play. And because it's not seen, I've been a bit cheeky and I've found some nice fabric that matches. Don't you think it matches, girls? Yes, lovely. Very coordinated. And I've cut out a panel to cover the hole, and I thought I'll just turn on the camera. I've got a row to do left, so we're doing our borrow stitch and just going backwards and forwards over that little piece of fabric. The hole is about probably a size of a 50-cent piece for those of you overseas. Oh, what size would that be? Probably about 2.5 inches wide. So it's now covered with this little piece. So yeah, a little bit exciting that finally some of the stitching that we do decoratively is actually being used to repair a hole, patching a hole. So I just said to the lads, do you mind if I turn on the camera and do the last row with the girls? So what I'll do then is we'll finish this off. I'll switch this section of video off and add it to the wreath so I can get these guys back on the road and back to their pinball comp. I'll fill you in on all the details of how they went. So we had some great results. So I'll do that in the next section of video. So it'll appear next as just like a second, but for me probably about an hour, and then I'll get back into my room and be able to work on my wreath prop. So there we go. So this gentleman now has a little bunch of flowers in his pocket, all borrowed, stitched down. So I pretty much went up and down and then across. So that hole is just in there. So it should be good. There you go, girls. Using our needlework for some good. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now. Hello everyone, I'm back. So if you've just tuned into my channel, you may have just watched a little short snippet of a pair of pants, a pocket within the pants being mended. That was a bit of an emergency mending session, which slow stitch came into play. So I was pretty pleased that I could put my skills to good use and fix the gentleman's pocket. Can't have his keys falling out of the pocket. So I just wanted to just touch base. It is now Tuesday and my house guests have gone home. I didn't manage to film a video yesterday because I was just busy, and they all wanted to go to Movie World. So by the time we got to Movie World and traipsed around there and did a few things on a couple of the rides, I just ran out of day. I did carry on stitching, however, the whole weekend this piece. I didn't do much on my little bluebird like I thought I would, and I have a feeling it's because this was just simple stitching. It was just all lined and I could just, stitch away, where this still, I just didn't want to rush it, so I'm still working through how I'm going to make my stars look, the wreath itself and all this embroidery. So I found that was a little bit too much to pick up and do work on, where this was just sitting in the media room, and while I was waiting for people to, turn up for breakfast and coming through the showers or go and pick them up, just random tasks that I was doing all weekend. This was really good just to pick up and stitch. So I'll just bring you up to speed because at the moment I'm working through the letters, and I thought I'd better just show you what I did here before I forget to give that detail. Now I finished beading the little sheep's body, and then I went through and put some seed stitch in amongst all of the beads. I'll just bring that right up. You see them there. I'm yet to iron the back of this piece to make all my little red lines disappear, but that shouldn't be a problem. The little sheep's head, I just chose a brown cotton. Now the manger, I used a piece of vintage hemp that I had from one of Rachel's packs. So I just cut it out by tracing the outline on the drawing, which gave me the little template in some, what do you call it? Put it on your tray, baking paper. Great for tracing. Cut it out and then just stab stitched around the outer edge to secure it with normal cotton. And then I did the same with the piece that went around little baby Jesus. That piece there and the piece in behind his head. And I just picked a vintage linen, stitched it down. Then I came back through and all this straw, I just got a piece of Hessian material. It's like a ribbon, or it's actually in a sheet, an A4 sheet, and I just cut a piece off and just pulled these little pieces out and then just couched them into position to create my straw. What else did I do there? That's about it for my feature pieces in the front, the little sheep and the manger scene. So now I'm just finishing the words, and how I'm doing that is I've got the full 6 strands of DMC cotton, which is 498, the nice raspberry red, and I've also got 2 strands of the same color to couch it down, and I'm sort of running 2 needles at the same time. So I just thought I'd turn on the camera and show you this technique. I used it a lot in my Jessie Chorley series, doing that panel. I really like doing this for words because it allows you to get a nice curved shape. If you have a look at the sheep, for example, or even the cow, it is curved, but it is still got that jagged sort of look. By couching down a thread, you can get a real nice curve, especially for writing. Like that E, the bottom there, would not look as good if I had just done a back stitch or even a satin stitch, a running stitch. By doing a couching like this, pinning that thread, am I even on camera? Yep. It allows you to really get some nice soft shapes. So I'm ready to come around the top of that E. So I'm just going to bring my thread around, and then using my little stitch to hold it down, I just pick up either side of it and then secure the thread. So coming up again. So I'll use this technique on the wreath with the bird as well, because it's circular, so it'll be perfect to couch some interesting threads down. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. I think I will seed stitch the back of this image too, just to add even more texture and interest to it. I was sitting there looking at it because I started this probably about 20 minutes ago, and I was sort of coming along, and I thought, oh, I might just turn the camera on and show you what I've been up to. I had thought I'd have the bird well and truly underway, but the weekend was just so hectic, having a full house of people, because there was a couple and a single gentleman. His wife couldn't make it. So, you know, that's meals. There were a few meals where they stayed at the big competition in the city, which was the Pinball Masters Championship, which they all competed in, as well as my husband. And they had a great time. I didn't go. I stayed at home. It's not my thing. So I just did needlework and got ready for when they would arrive, and they were all starving. You know how it goes. Busy playing pinball, hardly eaten, all feeling weak. So I was ready with barbecues and platters and just, you know, making sure they had a great weekend. That was my job, the pit crew. So I'm just picking up my couch thread again because I've finished my E, and I'm going to jump across now to the the H for him. So I'm just going to go down through. That's it. And then come up at the bottom of that H, right next to my little 2-strand thread, and go straight up. Come on, in you go, in the right spot. I've just finished watching Susanna's video from Vintage. Oh goodness, now Vintage Blend, I think it. Oh goodness, sorry Susanna, just gone blank. And she was commenting about her fingers being sore from being jabbed and stabbed by needles and pussycats. And I'm in the same boat. I've got a puppy dog, and with all this embroidery I'm doing, things are getting a bit tender. I will survive, but yeah, definitely, I've just hooked my needle. Goodness me, that's better. Running 2 needles at the same time is a challenge. You could just unthread one and rethread and unthread, which I did for some of the, now I've got a mess. I pull that through, and I might just tuck that out of the way over here, and then I'm free to do my couching over here. That's better. So yeah, the weekend was great. There were a few little issues. The one gentleman who came up by himself without his wife, his partner, there was a section of the arena that was roped off, so that behind the rope were all the competitors who were playing in the pinball competition, and that public was sort of kept back in the main bar area and the big gardens where they could eat and watch. And there was this rope that was probably about waist height the whole weekend, but for some reason the rope had come adrift and was laying down on the ground. You know what I'm going to say next. It was probably about 1 inch off the ground, and our friend's gone walking through, and his foot has caught on that, and he has gone over, and he has fallen really heavy on the ground. It's a wonder he did not break a wrist. It's a wonder he did not break a knee, because his knee was so grazed. Oh, and not to mention his pride. You know, there was hundreds of people there watching everyone compete, and it was up on big screens throughout the whole. It was at a big brewery right on the Brisbane River. So there was just so many people, and he has taken a heavy fall. Poor fellow. So he come home with a busted knee, and oh, goodness me. But they were still all laughing, and I had a great time. So, you know, he survived, but it's a little bit unfortunate. And then what was the other incident that happened? There was a few funny little things that happened all weekend, but overall I had a great time. Everyone looks like they've got COVID out of it. Luckily, our group had either had it some time ago or, like my husband and I, recently. So we're sort of thinking we won't get a dish of it this time. But Monday morning, as everyone's sort of boarding flights to head back to all over Australia, you could see all the messages coming, I've got COVID, I've got COVID. And even my husband said there were so many people coughing and spluttering. So our group took with them a heap of, what they call alcohol wipe, little tissuettes. So they were sort of wiping their hands regularly, especially when they sat down to eat. But there's so many people playing the pinball machines that, you know, you can guarantee that something nasty was going to be caught if it wasn't COVID. And so happens that my husband's eye swelled up. This was Sunday morning. His eye swelled up, the bottom part, sort of onto your cheek. It went all puffy and really red. So thinking, oh, what now? And so this morning we run him back to the airport, and his eye was still really puffy. And feeling pretty irritated. It was like weepy, and he was feeling a bit in the dumps. So I said to him, by the time we get back from the airport, it'll be like 10:30. So let's go straight to the doctor, find out what it is and get it treated, just in case it is something a little nasty. And yeah, she took a look at it and said that it was an infection that he's picked up from somewhere. So my guess is those pinball machines have a button on the side that they all press to, you know, kick the ball up onto the playfield. And you imagine you're in a competition and you're playing, up to 200 people were registered and playing. They went for 12 hours on Saturday until you sort of were either knocked out completely or you made it into the top 100 so that you could come back Sunday and play again. Now, my husband, he was knocked out. He got to, what was it, 160 or something out of 200. And his friend that lives in Brisbane, he got to 97 or something. He beat 3 people. So he was chuffed that he wasn't at least last. But the crew that came from Melbourne up, they were up in the 90s. So that meant they had to go back Sunday and play again. So anyway, yeah, you're playing and then you're at a machine and then you're on to the next machine and with a new opponent. So my guess is that the buttons on those machines were probably touched by 200 people and all those little germs, and somehow my husband has touched his eye and he's got himself a little infection. It's nothing serious, and the doctor prescribed some drops that were actually not even needing a prescription. They were just a little over-the-counter treatment. She said it should be gone in a few days, so much to our relief. But yeah, so those dirty pinball buttons gave him a little eye infection. And, you know, he took sanitized wipes with, because they sort of thought it was a bit high risk for something. But it's still, he's picked up a little germ. It was either that or the one night we were doing the barbecue on the bonfire. He had some soot or charcoal went into his face, and he sort of felt like something went into his eye, but it didn't feel gritty or anything, but he sort of did rub it. So whether that tiny itty bit of charcoal is sort of still in there floating around and it's caused a little infection, maybe. So we're not 100% sure, but, you know, just one of those things. Yeah, so that was our weekend. It was exhausting. It was fun. We had a great time. Can't wait to do it again, which will be in 1 year's time. The Brisbane Masters will be on again. I had a great time and I didn't even go. So it was just fun cooking and preparing and, you know, being their pit crew. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I wonder if I should end that off. I think I will. It's getting a little bit short, so I'm going to just knock that off. I hope you can see. Yep. So what else happened on that weekend? I think that was about it. Between people falling over and skinning their knees, and husbands with sore eyes. A lot of them had their flights cancelled. Our group went back today, being Tuesday, but a big majority of them flew out Monday morning. And there was fog, I think, in one of the capital cities. I think it was Melbourne. So all the flights got rescheduled or cancelled. So there was heaps of them that were given vouchers to stay another night in Brisbane at hotels. So just, yeah, it was a long weekend, I think, for everyone. Considering some of them had been at the comp for over a week, competing in all sorts of different activities. They even had arcade machines there, so they had competitions running for that, and they all get like world rankings. I think my husband's at 5,020. But when you look at the names of the people that did end up winning here in Brisbane, They were all from America and they were all from the UK. I don't think there were any Aussies in the top 20. They were all people that flew in. So these are professional players, but so I don't think our crew had much chance. Having said that, out of the little group we had, Raylene, the only girl, she beat all the boys, and that was hilarious. When they came in that door and said, you know, what had happened for their big day, they were on those machines for 12 hours. I think I just mentioned that. They started, you know, for a 12-hour session. Is exhausting. They were home really, really late. And Raylene was grinning from ear to ear, and she says, I came in at, I can't remember the number now, it was like 93, and her husband was at 97, and giggle, it was funny. She beat the boys, and she's not an expert like the boys. Like the boys not only are good players, they're technicians, they fix their machines, and Raylene's, you know, just bashes the little ball around, but you know, she needs to give herself credit. She does know the games, and I think if you know where to place that little silver ball to get points quickly, you know, you'll win the game. So it was very, very exciting. I enjoyed that, knowing that Ray come home with a big grin on her face. And then Sunday they had to go back in and play again to, you know, compete and finish the comp, but they were so exhausted that they slept in. They didn't go. They ended up going later in the day and just sort of watched. So they actually pulled out in the end, which they figured that they weren't going to improve their score much more than where they were, and it was better to have a sleep in. They'd had a ball, and that was enough. So they didn't end up finishing the actual comp itself, which we figured didn't matter. They weren't going to win it, but they had a good time. Okay, there we go. I finished the words. That's great. That's come up well. I was going to mention too, when I first started, I got to the M and I had laid down the red, and then using this cream, I'd used that to couch down the thread. And if I bring it up to the camera, so it would have had like this little white stripe over it all. And I ended up getting right to the M and I unpicked it because it looked like candy stripes. And it was pretty, but it just didn't suit it. It just, I don't know, made it look a little silly. So I decided to, unpick it and just keep it simple with the red. And I'm really pleased I did. I haven't yet done anything with my Joy to the Well. I had it pinned there all weekend, and I sort of, I don't know, I might just keep it to one side and it might appear on another piece. So I don't think I will use that at this stage. You never know. So what I want to do now is actually get my thread going again, and I just want to have a play with a bit of seed stitch around the background, and if it looks like something that's going to work, I'll then seed stitch the whole thing. Hours of work, but it's so worth it, and it's just easy stitching. You know, you don't have to think. So I'm just going to do a few here, just up in this corner. That way, if I do decide to unpick it, it's not, you know, right in the middle of my piece. So if you haven't done seed stitched before, I highly recommend it, but if you find it tedious and it annoys you, you know, don't do it. You don't need to. So I'll just get a few stitches in and we'll have a look at it. But I have a feeling I will like it. It sort of helps disguise the fact that it's just plain old calico. And it just sort of puts a bit of a, because this crochet cotton that I'm using, DMC 712 cotton pearl, it's got a sheen to it. So the calico is such a flat matte tone about it. And then you go and lay over the top thousands of little stitches that have a bit of a pearl feel about them. It really looks pretty. I could even pop a few beads in amongst it. Who knows? It's like a million ideas come into your head and you've sort of got to just take a breath and just sort of see how it evolves. That's looking good. I'm liking that. I'll bring it up to the camera in a moment. Just get a few more laid down so that you can see. Okay. Vintage Blend Studio. That's the name of Susanna's channel. I do apologise, Susanna. If you don't know Susanna's channel, slip over there. She's a very talented girl. She's been working on these birds on this panel and, oh, boy, very clever. She's done quite a few collaborations too with Rachel and different artists around the world, and yeah, she certainly holds her own. She's a very creative Aussie girl. Okay, let's have a little look at that. A couple more stitches just to make sure. The main thing is to get your seed stitches in all different directions. Don't have one that's going the same as the last one. And it really helps it make it look interesting. Okay, let's bring that up to the camera. There we go. You can see them there, little tiny itty bitty stitches. They'll look great all over. Oh, so much work, but that's all right. A little bit at a time. 50 centimetres, not 50 centimetres, a 50-cent piece in space at a time if you're in Australia. It's about the size of that roll of cotton. Just focus on that space. Don't look at the whole piece, just that little spot, little bit by little bit. And you'll be surprised how quickly it comes together. Like I might say to myself, all right, I'll work from the A to the E and through that, and that's it, and that's enough for one night. And you're surprised at just how quickly you nibble away a massive space. If you haven't seen my Jessie Chorley, the garden panel, I seed stitched the entire background of that, and we're talking probably 1,000,000 stitches. And at not one point did I think it was going to be too much for me, because I just focused on little areas at a time, and it was just so addictive seeing how it was changing the background for me that it was just worth it. It was like quilting it. It was just worth the effort. Plus it was one of those stitches you can pick up anywhere if you're waiting for someone, or you're sitting somewhere patiently waiting for an appointment. Just take your one colour and do some seed stitch. That's the definition of slow stitch if I've ever seen it. I still can't believe I got to do some slow stitch on a pocket for our friend who had a hole, and I thought I was being pretty cheeky putting a floral fabric. Of course no one will ever see it in his pants, but he just loved it. He loved it. He couldn't believe how well it fixed the hole, and the hole, you know, it was the size of my palm. So, and the fabric was so thin. Like, he's had these pants for years and they're his favourite. His wife was just grinning. She's like, he wears them all the time, and there's the little holes appearing in these pockets from having keys and, you know, anything that these lads pop in their pockets, coins. So when I went to stitch it, my thread just pulled straight through. It was so fine, the fabric. It was fine to start with, I'd say. And with years of wear. So brilliant. The only solution is to lay down a 1.5 inch square piece of fabric and then do the borrow stitch straight over the top, rows and rows of it, and then I come back the other direction, and it was perfect. I've never applied it in a practical application. It's always been a decorative endeavour, and it was really strong. So yeah, it was pretty cute to have some flowers in his pocket. He'll go back to Melbourne now and he'll put his hand in his pocket and he'll think of me and all those little flowers. It was pretty funny. It was a bit cheeky. But he took it in good grace and didn't say, "Can you unpick that? I do not want that floral fabric in my pocket." He giggled away, so it was lovely. Okay, how are we going here? That's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. It'd look even better if I had a little piece of wadding or felt under this panel, because then it gives a real quilted look. A really nice finish. But this will be fine. It'll only be me that knows that it probably could have been a little bit puffier, more quilted. No one will know that I could have added another layer behind it. Yeah, that's pretty. I didn't mention that I put some lace around the edge of the baby's wrap. That was just a little piece that come off of a handkerchief. There's the corner there. So I just trimmed off that edge, that seam, and just brought it back to just a little strip and stitched it on. The colour just matched beautifully. So that was an easy win. I keep looking at Mary's dress too. I sort of feel like I could do something there, but I don't know. I haven't found the right lace. Maybe something will come as the project goes on and I'll go, oh, I know where to put that. I just feel like the foreground has all this texture and Mary's dress could do with something, but I don't know. I'll do this seed stitch, see what that looks like, and then go from there. Okay, you're probably getting all bored just watching me do this boring stitch. I'll give it a few more stitches until I run out of thread, and then I'll leave you all in peace. I must say thank you everyone for your kind comments. Oh my goodness. You girls are just too sweet. Some of the things you say to me are just, they take my breath away. It's just so lovely to share this project with you all and to take the time and send me a little message. It's just lovely. Just lovely. Very encouraging. So I do appreciate that. And so many of you doing the project, so it's like we're having little chats about your projects, and it's really good. Feels like I'm in your craft room with you when you start telling me what you're thinking and what you're doing, and you're trying this, and yeah, it's really good. Okay. All right. I'm liking that. Just dropping a few little stitches in the letter D there just to use the last little bit of my thread, which will be knotted off. Okay. Whoops, it's come unthreaded. Okay, so we'll leave it at that, and I'll knot that in a moment. So just bring that up to the camera. You see all the little stitches? It's going to be pretty. Very, very nice. Okay, everyone, just another little look at the little sheep. It's looking good. So I'll work on that. This video, what's today, Tuesday? You'll probably see this Wednesday morning, and I'll do a little bit more tonight, Tuesday, and then Wednesday when I do my video for Thursday, and so on, I'll try and pick up my little bluebird and get my wreath underway. So We'll see you all in the next video. Look after yourselves, everyone, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.